What's up guys, you read the title, and yes, I am talking about the iPhone 11 Pro Max and whether or not it's still worth it after all this time being on the market. And the answer is probably not going to surprise you since it's coming from me. So just to get it right out in the open, yes, I personally think for me and for people trying to get the most out of their phone cameras, most out of their iOS device, the best battery, the best screen, the best materials, I think that even 5 months, almost 5 months later, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is still absolutely worth it. However, I am going to talk about some things that I think could have been better and that I think were actually done better with the iPhone 11 standard. And I think it's probably going to surprise you guys how much I would actually recommend the 11 over the 11 Pro for most users. But like most of my reviews, I'm going to go back and forth between good and bad, talking about things that I do and don't think aged well, things I do and don't think are worth it, and how I feel overall the phone stands up 5 months later. And getting right into it with a good thing, the camera. I already did an entire video that you can check out over there of things that I used this camera for. I literally took an entire vacation where all I brought with me was a film camera and my iPhone. I didn't take a digital camera with me at all because I figured that if this camera is so good, why not just use my iPhone and see how it comes out? And I felt extremely naked without a real camera in my pocket. And even though the iPhone doesn't have the reputation of having a real camera, it took some of the best photos I have ever taken with an iPhone, period. And I would almost say some of the best photos I've ever taken of any camera when it comes to things like nighttime photography and even some landscape photography. And that's good because when you're going out and taking pictures, you don't want to feel like you're hindered by the equipment you're using. That's why I like film so much, because you pick what you want, and if you mess something up, it's your fault. It's not something automated. But I'm not getting into that. Yes, the camera on these iPhones is incredible. The ultra-wide allows for some of the most creative shots I have really ever played around with or taken. The zoom is, it's okay. It's, a 50 millimeter, so it's not really a zoom, more of just a medium-sized, medium-length lens. And the standard wide camera is easily one of the best cameras on the market, period, for an iPhone, for any phone, really. And when it comes to video, this has some of the best video I have ever taken, period. And on a phone, nobody's really even close for video. Apple has been walking away with video for years now, and they've only extended their lead by adding wide dynamic range and higher refresh rates and all of those things that some phones, like the Pixel, are removing. Frame rate options, come on, seriously guys? And the fact now that in video mode you can change the frame rate and the resolution without having to leave the camera app, that's something that should have been there for so long, and they finally added it. So turnabout is fair play. If you add something that I've been begging for so long while keeping the incredible quality, I'm going to tell you that it's a great camera. However, on the flip side of things, storage options still seem to be very limited, and those play directly into what I was just talking about with the camera. I still think that if you're paying as much as you are for an iPhone, you should be getting more than 64 gigabytes as your starting storage option. I can forgive it on something like the iPhone 11 because you are still getting a lot of the premium features that you would get on a lot of more expensive phones, but you're getting it on a smaller, less expensive phone that still, again, gets you a lot of those features. So 64 gigabytes on that, I can forgive. But considering that Apple has never added expandable storage, which really hasn't been a complaint of mine, I don't care that you can't expand the storage because I do have iCloud. But for those of you who don't have iCloud, those of you who don't want your photos or videos saved in the cloud, and you are in the market for an iPhone that doesn't have expandable storage, I feel like the price tag for the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max should easily be something that Apple can swallow and just add 128 gigabytes as your base storage option. That is something that has still bugged me. I bought the 64 gigabyte version because I use iCloud, but I know that there are so many people who don't, and the price point of a 128 gigabyte or 256 gigabyte iPhone just isn't really something they want to go and invest in. So it's just kind of frustrating that after all this time and adding these incredible features and options with the iPhone camera, not giving you the storage to back it up just kind of doesn't make sense, and I hate it. What I can't hate on, though, is everything else inside the phone, minus the storage. This iPhone has the A13 Bionic chip, partnered with 4 gigabytes of RAM, and yeah, RAM size never really matters on an iPhone just because it's so well optimized. Like, I have an iPad that runs with 2 gigabytes of memory, and it still performs better than any other tablet I've played with, and that's just how Apple's iOS software works. It is so well optimized. And that means for those who like banging the planned obsolescence drum saying that Apple kills their phones after 2 years so you're forced to upgrade and yada yada, you don't really have a leg to stand on here because the amount of performance this phone has packed into it versus how little amount of performance is required to run iOS, that all means that there's a massive amount of headroom for developers to use for their apps and for Apple to use in future versions of iOS, which this phone will continue to get for at least the next 4 to 6 years. And that's not just the 11 Pro and Pro Max. The iPhone 11 will also continue to be getting these software updates. The 10, the 10S, the 7s, the 8s, possibly even the 6Ss will be getting the next version of iOS. And that's just a small fraction of iOS devices, not even counting things like iPads. So the amount of performance they put in this phone is phenomenal and still holds up to new phones coming out. It's more powerful than new phones coming out today. And that just blows me away and shows how much Apple's Silicon team really is knocking it out of the park. And I can't wait for the A14 is going to be a monster. Though speaking of the performance, the software that is using so little of this performance, I kind of feel like should be using maybe a little more of the performance that's available on this phone, because iOS 13 has been one of the buggiest experiences, in my opinion, that they've had in a long time. I feel like this year of iOS devices and this year of Apple software in general has been extremely buggy. Catalina has been a nightmare for me. iOS 13 was very buggy. And I want more optimization out of this. And I know because I'm going to be getting the software updates when they're available, it's not a big concern. But if your day-to-day phone is kind of buggy, I feel like maybe you should prioritize fixing that in the version you have and not waiting till the next update to do it. Just because your phone will be supported for a very long time doesn't mean that that gives you the excuse to make one update buggy because it'll be fixed later. I'm just saying. Now, iPadOS, oddly enough, has been fairly reliable, but iOS 13 hasn't. So whatever. We're not talking about iPadOS. We're talking about the iPhone, and Apple really needs to fix iOS 13 or at least make it right with iOS 14. Because hopefully with iOS 14, Apple will finally take full advantage of this incredible OLED display. For those of you who don't know, the iPhone 11 is using a standard IPS display, which it's not the same display as the iPhone 4, like Lou from Unbox Therapy would have you believe. It is an incredible screen. It's actually, in a lot of cases, one of the best IPS displays on a phone. So even though it's not OLED, it's still a good display. But when you look at an iPhone OLED display, it is one of the best OLEDs I have seen on a phone, period. And I've played with a lot of phones. I've played with the Galaxy Fold, the Galaxy Note 10, LG's IPS panel that they say is tuned really well, which it kinda is. OnePlus, Huawei, Motorola, all these phones that are putting OLEDs, Sony, they're another one. All these phones that are using OLED displays are really good, but iPhones just take it to a whole nother level. Apple claims it's XDR, which is the extreme dynamic range, which I kind of get where they're coming from, considering that the extreme dynamic range classification they use on something like the Pro display does have to meet a certain standard, and by definition, OLED would exceed that standard. I don't buy it. I don't care. I just love the fact that when I watch something on my phone and then immediately pick it up and watch it on my TV, I'm disappointed. I actually kind of enjoy that because it shows how incredible the display is on these iPhones and how Apple really just needs to keep it up. Putting aside the stupid Super Retina XDR display name, the 2 million to 1 contrast ratio is really something to pay attention to. It's incredible. And on top of that, the fact that it's one of the few OLEDs I've used on a phone. Actually, most iPhone displays are in the category of actually not suffering from burn-in. Anytime I've messed with an OLED phone that is older than about 1.5 or 2 years, there's always burn-in, usually near the bottom where the keyboard is or up near the top where the status bar is. But considering that there was an iPhone 10 that was on display at my local Best Buy that has been there since the introduction of the iPhone 10, and it just barely had burn-in, and the fact that I used the snot out of my iPhone XS Max and am now doing the exact same thing on the iPhone 11 Pro, just goes to show that whatever Apple's doing to reduce the risk of burn-in is working, and they need to keep it up. What they don't need to keep up, and hopefully won't keep up with the next generation, is this aging notch design on the front. I have no problem overall with the look of the phone. The design is decent, but it's not the best. It's definitely not aging like most other phones are aging. It's iconic, I guess you could call it, because it does still hold the notch design that was introduced with the iPhone X, but it's still, at the end of the day, a very similar design to the iPhone X, and they are doing this kind of iterative change where you get a similar look after similar look after similar look after one massive change. And hopefully this will be the last time we see this little change with very similar looks. I mean, hell, the look of the front of this phone is identical to the XS Max if you don't have the displays on. So I do hope they get rid of the notch. I do hope that they keep the 3-camera look, but I hope that they make it maybe a little more subtle, make it a strip down the back. Anyway, I don't mind this 3-camera and a square look. It definitely looks better in person than it does on camera, and it's way better than what we thought it was going to be, where it was, you know, all the concepts that it was stamped into the back. This is actually raised out of the glass, which is very classy. I like it. I just maybe hope that next year we'll get maybe some more changes, a different design, maybe a strip of cameras, or keep this but make it flush, you know, no camera bump. That'd be nice. But the thing that I kept for last that is the nicest part of this phone, period, and what makes me continue to gravitate towards it, continue to want to use it and keep it in my pocket day to day, is something that I have never really appreciated, something I've never really liked, something that's never really been decent on an iPhone until now, which is the battery life. iPhone battery lives have been okay, not great, but they've been okay for a lot of years, and they've been, you know, something you're not going to complain about, but something you're not exactly going to be the happiest with. With them removing 3D Touch and making the display assembly thinner, they're able to fit a massive battery in this thing, and this phone has, on multiple occasions, lasted me upwards of 2 days without being on the charger. I regularly go to bed after a day of heavy use at work with 70, maybe 60% battery. And that is incredible for any phone, really. I guess it's not too incredible for that stupid Motorola thick boy phone, but yeah, for a phone that is really this thin, it's not a big phone at all, but for a phone that's this thin and kind of chunky but not overly heavy, 2 days of battery life is nothing to scoff at. And that's why at the end of the day, I continue to use the iPhone 11 Pro Max with no regrets because of the things that are good, they really do, for me personally, outshine the things that are bad. Oh, I'm sure there are things on this phone that are, for some people, a complete deal breaker. I think for the person looking to get the most out of their phone, like I said at the start, this is easily one of the best phones that I could recommend and easily the best phone that Apple's ever made. And for those of you who are complaining that the deal breaker is the headphone jack, welcome to 2020. Get over it. This phone is incredible. Its counterpart, the 11, is incredible for the average consumer. But as I said at the very start of this episode, for anybody looking for the best iPhone, for the best options for camera, display, design, everything that I've mentioned, and don't mind those few things that I said were bad, might as well look into the iPhone 11 Pro Max if you think it suits your needs. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm putting a lot of effort into these videos now because, my God, it is hard to keep up with this stupid YouTube algorithm to try to get tech videos to come out in one day and have things like anime review videos come out in another day. And I'm going to be putting an update video out at some point talking about why all the tech videos are here instead of over on the tech video channel. But needless to say, they're going to be here for the rest of forever. But either way, thanks for watching, guys. Comment, let me know what you guys think. I want this to be a conversation. I hope you guys treat it as such. And apart from that, I'll see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one. Hey guys, just hopping in at the end here. Thanks for watching through the whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. I do still have merch. I've actually had it for quite a while, but not a lot of people know about it or care. And so if you guys want to support me or check it out just because it looks cool, go to the link in the description. You can see some of the designs I have, like the Steel Frodo in Steins Gate design, or even the Mob Psycho 100 design, and maybe even buy one if you like it, or don't. I cried myself to sleep at night anyway. So either way, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.